I just couldn't resist to show you this. This is a situation that you have when you actually purchase these old cars from these barn finds, or maybe possibly like this owner, you wait 5, 6, 7 years to restore the car. What a fucking nightmare this is. And look at that fucking mess. Does anybody know what that is? That is actually the food that our little pet rat that has been living in here for many, many years as a condominium apartment fucking mansion house has been eating on. Son of a bitch!
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
Clean that out, definitely, for sure. I noticed that this back seat was already loose from here, and when you take these back seats out on these cars, they usually hook up and then they fold in, and then you usually have like a little nut and a bolt, or sometimes little tabs like you got right here. I don't know if you can see that from there, but there's a little tab that's bent over here and there's one bent over there. So somebody tried to take this back seat out. You can see this situation here, and it didn't work too good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my hammer, I'll knock those out, and this back piece should come right out of the car, and then we can get this panel out so we can expose the inside of our rocker panel where our quarter panel is tied together on top of it. So we're just going to take a hammer, and you can see that move. That means that it loosened up. I'm going to reach inside here, and I'll get this one over here, and these are just tabs that are bent over. And you don't want to break those tabs, okay? You want to be very careful not to break those. Every time that you're taking interior out of the car, always take your time and be cautious, because this interior is actually in really good shape, and we don't know if the owner wants to use it or what he wants to do, so we want to really be careful taking stuff out when we go doing this. Now, if you look real close, you can see this thing comes out with ease. Alright, now that we removed our back seat out of the vehicle, I'm sorry I didn't show you removing the front seat. I did remove the driver's side front seat. There were 4 bolts. On a Ford Mustang, you're going to get to them from the bottom, and on a Chevy Camaro, you're going to get to them on the top, and I believe the Mopar is the same way. They're on the top. Ford is the only one that you get from the bottom, so yeah, we got to take that seat out. Now, we got to remove this door panel here, and once we do that, we should be able to access the section that we need down in here. So you're going to need a special tool for this. Now let me tell you something about these window cranks. The General Motors window cranks have little clips on them. They're little E-clips, and they slide on to the handle, and there's a little slot on the knurled end of the window crank, and you pop it on there and it's done. Now, I know for a fact that Fords have an Allen screw on the side right here, and then I believe Mopar's has a screw right here in the center. So this is basically a GM tool that we're going to use, and we're going to go ahead and find our little clip, and they're usually perpendicular. I think I just got this one off, and if I did, I'll show it to you. I think it is. No, it's not. Okay. So it's either this way or it's going to go up like this, one of the two, but you got to be able to find it. And sometimes it's in the inside of it, and sometimes it's on the outside of the washer, and I will show you that when I get to it. But this can take a few seconds to have this done right. So it looks like this one here is going to be on the inside of the plastic washer, and in a second here we will get this off. So yeah, it does take a few seconds to get this off, but with patience, you can get to it very carefully. The next thing we want to do is we want to take our extrusion molding which is right here. This will come off. You gotta be real careful with it. All right. Once again, it'll slide off. You can see it's in really good shape. We're gonna go ahead and sit that to the side. All right, now that we have everything revealed to our door panel, it's now time to start removing our door panel. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here to the outside, and if you look close from what your angle is, you're gonna see where there is a lip of interior that is actually folded around. All right, and I'm gonna get that unfolded, just like you're watching. And that way I can take my pry bar and get behind there, or even better, my clip tool, find our clips where they're located. And I'll be honest with you, this door panel is giving me a little bit of a pain in the ass here, guys. This is giving me more of a pain in the ass than most of them. And whoever installed this on here did a pretty damn good job, because I am having a hell of a time getting this thing off of here. That's what's really weird. I've never had this much problem taking a fucking door panel off. I think this has been replaced or something here. I don't think this is original. Okay, here we go. All right. Now we can kind of just pry it off like this. And then we get it like that. And then, voila, look what we got. All right, we got the original paper, so that is original interior. Are we going to keep this original paper? Probably not. What we'll probably do with that is we will probably go ahead and throw it in the trash and put some plastic in there. But now what I've done by removing this, I have made myself an access point to get inside here so I can spot weld that panel back on to the car once I replace it and give it that factory look. Now, you're probably looking at that and saying, what the hell, that guy is never going to be able to do that. But I'm going to show you some tech tips and tricks how to do it. And I will guarantee you this, that when I get it done, it will be done right. So just keep watching. And when we come back, we're going to start tearing that quarter panel out of there. We got a problem here with this window. It's not rolling up. So you can see we're having a lot of problems with this old car that's been sitting around for many, many years. And I do not like that. Matter of fact, I'm going to go call the owner and tell him that he's going to have to get new regulators, because when I pull this quarter panel off at that time, that's the time to go ahead and put new regulators on the vehicle. I can't even get the window back up. I think the regulators are busted. Okay, what's going on here? Get it to go. There it is. Okay. If we could get it to go up just a little bit, that would be really nice. Because we got to get that glass out of there. We don't want to do it welding. Okay, a little bit more. Come on. Okay, there we go. All right. So yeah, that's going to have to be repaired. And I want to let everybody know out there that replacing all the mechanisms in that quarter panel is a real nightmare. When these cars were built, they actually, before they put the quarter panels and the door skins on, they would go ahead and set all the glass in there and put everything together, because they didn't really build these cars to be restored. These cars were not intended to be restored. They built these cars to make money with, so to replace all that stuff inside here in this little hole could be a nightmare of a situation, so be careful. Let me clean the inside of this car out, and when I come back, we're going to go ahead and start tearing that quarter panel off and replacing the full quarter panel on this classic muscle car. Alright, now that we got the interior all cleaned out, you can see I cleaned all the mess out in our little rat's nest. And I also took out some of the tar paper insulation that was here. It started smelling like, rat. So I went ahead and removed that. And as we look inside the car, there's still some pieces we need to remove to replace this quarter panel. And one of them is that back glass. Remember how I was telling you to follow the lines, follow the edges as we come around here. This is our tail light section here. We come up to our trunk going around here. And then what do we got right here? This is our glass area. This is our back glass area. and this is where the glass is going to sit. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and remove the back glass out of the vehicle. Now, even though we're going to remove the back glass out of the vehicle, we might not replace that whole quarter panel. We might not go all the way up to the roof line. This is going to be our roof line you're looking at right here. So just because we're taking the glass out, that's just a precaution, because when you do a quarter panel job such as this, you always want to remove the glass no matter what, because what'll happen, especially when it's vintage classic glass such as this is all original, and you can see it's in very, very good shape. What happens is glass is a magnet to welding. You can be welding way down here, all right, down over here, and for some reason the glass will attract the sparks and will ruin the glass. So always remove your glass out of your vehicle when you are doing a job like this. So what I'm going to do is, I got a couple utility knives, and the reason I say a couple, because I'm going to take 2 of them in there, because if one gets dulled out, I'll have another one as a backup unit. And I'll take that utility knife and I'll go inside and I'll cut along the edge of that glass, all the way along the edge, just like that, inside. And then what that'll do, that'll cut that old butyl or glue or whatever it is. And from cutting it right here, it looks like it's going to cut pretty easy. Now, back in the day, when this was installed, this wasn't installed with windshield urethane. This was not installed. It was installed with a product called butyl. Now what butyl is, it's this rubberized rope, and then it's coiled up, and then what you do is you take your butyl and then you'd lay it down in here, and then you'd push the glass down on top of that, and then of course you'd have your trim on top of this, which would help hold the glass in there, and then that would seal it up. And that's one of the reasons a lot of these era cars always get rust right here and down here, is because they used to use that butyl, and the butyl would eventually wear out because it never did get hard. It never did get hard. And when we take this glass out, you're going to see where we got some real heavy surface rust right here on this piece of trim. If that's a piece of trim, it might be part of the vehicle. We're going to find out when we get in there. But yeah, so that's kind of the history about glass. Is there was a product that was called butyl, and that's how they used to install them before they came out with the windshield urethane glue. So hopefully we'll be able to get this out and it'll come right out. Hopefully. And always remember, safety glasses all the time on this job. I don't care what you're doing, always wear that right there. Gloves as well, especially when using utility knives. We definitely don't want to cut one of our fingers or our thumbs off while we're inside this car trying to make a quick buck. There's the glass right there. Let's get that out of the car. We're going to go put that in a nice safe place where it won't get broken or ruined. And I'll be right back. Now, one more thing you want to do. If you're working on multiple cars in your shop, or possibly you're going to wait a while before you put this back in, it's always good to put a piece of tape on here and the year, make of the car. Or just take a magic marker and do that. So I'm going to do that, put this away, and I'll be back in a minute. Now that we got the back glass out, we got to go ahead and protect the other glass, and the glass I'm talking about is this corner glass over here. Now what we got here is we got some tape, 2-inch tape, and if Minnie can bring the camera over here, I'm going to show you what we're going to do, and then we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to take my tape, and I'm going to go ahead and cover my glass. Even though I'm going to roll the window down, we're still going to have to cover that glass. And why is that, Minnie?
Because the sparks from the welder will...
It'll ruin the glass.
Ruin the glass.
And that's exactly what I told him. So you can see that Minnie's been around here a long time, and she knows what she's talking about. So it's very important to always cover all the glass up in the areas that you're working. And we're even going to cover, I'm going to roll that window down over there. You already see that window rolled down. We're going to take this one off here, and I'm going to put some paper on that. And if you remember when we first started this, I had paper on all the glass. My intentions were to leave the paper on the glass and just do it with all the windows rolled up. But then when we got into it, we found out another thing you want to cover is this chrome. Make sure that any chrome, because the sparks from the welder or the lag, whatever is flying in the air, it will also ruin your chrome just as much as it'll ruin your glass. So remember that. And when you're doing one of these quarter panels on this classic situation, you want to make sure that all your glass is covered up.
Okay, let me ask, oh, there's no interior. What about your door panels? Are we worried about the door panels?
We're not worried about the door panels that much due to the fact that he's probably going to change them out. But as I was telling everybody out there, if you look at this interior, it's actually in pretty good shape. And it could still be used. So if you're going to keep the interior you got, yes, you want to put a welding blanket over that or cover it up with something that will protect it from sparks flying. This chrome right here will get ruined if it hits that chrome. You can see this chrome's already pitting. He'll probably have that re-chromed possibly, but the chrome is just as important as the glass itself.
So you're taping it inside and out?
On this particular piece of glass right here, due to the fact that it might be exposed, we're going to go ahead and cover this one up inside and out, yes. Now the other ones, I'm only going to cover it up where I'm going to be welding on. The windshield itself, I'm going to put a piece of paper across this dash and cover that whole thing. We don't want to get any sparks on that, but as far as the door glass, you can see those are going to be rolled down. We only got wing windows that we got to worry about. Now, I want everybody to pay close attention to the wing window here. This was only on 1 year model of the Camaro itself, and that was the 67 model. So if you ever see a Camaro that has a wing window, that's automatically going to tell you that that is a 1967 unless somebody changed that out. So 68 and 69 did not have wing windows. They just had full glass, and it was a big full opening. So that's one way you can tell that it's a 67 is if it has the wing window.
So does that make the 67,
I don't know if it's worth any more money. It's just a first gen Camaro. You know, this was a 6-cylinder standard 3-speed car on the floor. So yeah, it was on the floor. This car here was just your basic standard issue model. It didn't have nothing special. It was a 6-cylinder and just had a 3-speed standard transmission in it. So remember when we were rolling this up, the rollers were bad on it. I'm going to go ahead and roll that down. Now that I covered it with tape, we're going to go ahead and roll that. Is it rolling down on us? It won't roll down. Okay, there it goes. And then when I pull this quarter panel off, we'll go ahead and buy all the parts we need to replace and repair the window track and the crank on our door. But for right now, we're just going to roll that down out of the way, just like that. Okay. So now that that's done, what we want to do is we want to concentrate on where we're going to replace this quarter panel. Now, first the instinct when you're going to replace it, when you look at this quarter panel, come on over here. The first instinct that you're going to have is, okay, I got to cut it out up there. We got to put it in right here. I got to cut this out and I got to cut that out. And then over here, if we look right here, here's our door opening right here where our door latches. I got to cut it out all the way across here. That would be your first instinct of how to replace a full quarter panel. Well, my friend Pete's going to tell you different on this situation. I'm not going to replace all that. And the reason is because there's a lot of features on this particular car that I don't want to lose. And I want to show everybody how nice this door closes. This is all factory original. I want to show this to you. Look at that.
Freaking
okay,
perfect.
look at this. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I barely touched it and the door closed. One more time. Okay. If I replace that quarter panel the whole thing, this is how you're going to have to shut that door. You're going to have to shut it just like that to make it work. Because what did I tell everybody out there? What is that quarter panel?
Aftermarket.
It's an aftermarket quarter panel, and it is not going to work properly. So for me to keep that nice flowing, let's close the door like that, and it's done, what am I going to have to do, Minnie?
You're going to have to keep that part of the
I'm going to have
original.
to keep this section of the door. Come on over here. We're going to have to keep this section right here. Because if I cut this out and I put the aftermarket one, I'm telling you right now, I'm guaranteeing you, it will not work like that. It will not fit.
It will never work like
It'll never work like that. Okay, so that's one spot. Now, come on down here. Remember that factory line I told you that we're going to keep? I'm looking at this section down here, where this rollover is, and I'm looking at that and I'm telling myself, there's no rust there. It's solid and it looks brand new and it's all factory. Because remember, this car has been sandblasted. So we know that there's no rust in this area right here. Now, we do have a small dent right here, but that doesn't really worry me due to the fact that we're going to be welding up in this area anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this quarter panel off up in this area here. I'm going to cut it up high enough so I can go down, and where I want to end up is about right here on that area there. And that's where we're going to join the brand new quarter panel. So as we see now, I'm going to keep this section here. I'm going to go ahead and keep all this section here. And then as we come over here to this part of the quarter panel, remember it goes all the way up into the roof right here. But why should I replace this section when I really don't have to, and there's nothing wrong with it? I don't even see any dents in it. The only thing I see is where they leaded it in right here. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this one off in this area right here and come around. Now this is another situation with factory OEM original. Do you see that body line right there, Minnie?
Yep.
Okay. The first thing that people look at when they look at these old classic cars is basically what I'm showing you, and that's the factory body lines. This is a very crucial body line that you want to keep. Now, most people would go ahead and cut this off right here, and this is where they would place it. But the real deal is, to keep that, you got to take yourself, go up inside here, and it has to be spot welded. I don't know if Minnie can see where my hand is. In this area right here, it has to be spot welded back together. All right? In this area. Or, what I've done in the past is I went ahead and butted these two seams together, and then I would weld the whole thing up all the way down, and then I'd come back with my little hand grinder and I'd grind that slot out so you would have yourself that factory body line. But since we don't have any rust in this area right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come across here like this, and then I'm going to come down here, and then I'll cut it straight across, because you can see this is all solid, and we don't start getting any rust until right here. So I'll cut this all the way down. So we're going to come straight across like this, cut it out there. I'm going to cut the spot welds out here. I'm going to come around right here, and then we're going to see what we can do about this section here, cutting it out, and then take the whole quarter panel off. We will go ahead and replace this bottom section here due to the fact that there is rust right there, and there's some Bondo issues. We got dents in this area, and this whole fender lip is rotted. But that's what I'm talking about when I'm telling you to follow your roadmap. So what I'm going to do is take my tape. Now, I'm going to go ahead and explain this tape, and I've said it in a lot of my videos. Tape is a tool. You must have tape, okay? Tape is a straight line when you need a straight line. Tape is a marker when you need to mark something. Tape is a cover-up, just like we use. So tape is very important. And I use high-quality tape. I don't use cheap tape. That's another thing. If you want to do the job right, you should use high-quality materials to do the job. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my road map going on this, and I'm going to cut it out up here. Actually, you know what? I want to cut this one down here. I want to go as low as I can to avoid the rust. So I'm going to start my cut. If we look right here, you can see it looks like this is Bondo right there, but it's not rusted. All right. So we're going to come across here just like this, and I'm going to cut that baby out right there. You see where I'm going? And I don't want to go any lower because why? Remember the crack I was showing you? Okay, we got to control ourselves and get rid of our crack. Now, when we go to do this job, we're actually going to raise this up, but right now we want to keep as much as this as we can. So I'm going to cut it there, then I'm going to bring it over here like this. All right, I'm going to come straight down here. I'm going to come right there to where the rust stops. And then I'll go ahead and get them spot welds. But over here, this is the situation we have. Remember, I was telling you about this. Now, we want to go ahead and keep this lip right here, okay? So what I'm going to do to save this piece right here, I'm going to go ahead and cut this thing out, possibly right in this corner here. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and fit the panel so it'll end up right in the center. I don't want to get rid of this. This is very important to keep that door opening and closing properly. So we're going to go ahead and take our...
Why would you not just come out here?
Because I don't want the welds out there. I want them inside the door jamb where you won't see them.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
So we're going to cut it right here. We're going to come up here. Now, I'm not going to remove this piece yet, but what I am going to do is I'm going to cut it right here. Because eventually I will remove this, but I want to see what's behind that. I want to see what I got to do to make all this line up. So I'm going to take my tape and then I'll cut this off right here like that, see? You see what I'm talking about? When you make your cuts on your quarter panel itself, you want to keep as much meat as you can. You don't want to do your initial first cut. It's better to have more than, like I said, I want to go in the middle right here, all right? But I don't want to cut it there first. I want to keep as much as I can so I can work my way into lining everything up. So it's better to keep more meat. Just like I said down here, I'm going to keep all this, but when we get to the point, it's probably going to end up in this area here. And you'll see what I'm talking about. It's kind of confusing. And then I was telling you I want to keep this piece here, so we know there's body work there. I'm going to cut this one like up here, okay? Way up here, right below where it's dented. So we're going to come down, we're going to come across here, just like that. We're going to come up here like this. I'm going to cut this lip off right here where it meets. We're going to continue to go with that straight on down. Then I'm going to angle myself this way, all right, missing the rusted spots. Then I'll go ahead and cut these spot welds out around here. I'll find my spot welds that are located in this area. And then I'm going to stop right there because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my plasma cutter and I will cut this section off, leaving this on here. That way I can look inside it and I'll find my spot welds and I'll know where the spot welds are to cut off. Now, if you don't have a plasma cutter, you're going to want to use a tool like this, which we're going to be using this to remove this, and I'm going to show you how. And I might go ahead and use it to remove this. I'm going to use my plasma cutter to zap the spot welds. But I'm going to use my air chisel and I'm going to come along just like that, and I'll probably just cut this off, and then I'll come back here, cut all this out, and I'm going to leave about 2 inches all the way around it, and then I'll take the center section out, and what that's going to do, that's going to help me cut all these spot welds out where I won't ruin the inside lip. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, once I get that done, then we're going to take this quarter panel, which is a full quarter panel, and if we look right here on this end, I'm going to go ahead and lift that up. All right, you can see, looky right here what I just found. Now you can see where the spot welds are on this, where this connects. Okay, then we'll go ahead and start fitting our full quarter panel to the car. Now, I got another quarter panel here that goes on this side, and this is another situation where a lot of people get confused. The quarter panel that I have in this box, this is where people get confused. This is not a full quarter panel. And I'm going to show you, this is where a lot of people screw themselves when it comes to putting quarter panels on cars. Let me open this up and I'm going to show you. Because you can see, it looks like I'm unboxing a fender. Am I right, Minnie?
Yeah.
But this is not a fender, trust me. This is a quarter panel. And I'm going to show you what we're talking about. What this quarter panel is this is a patch panel. This is not a quarter panel. Don't get confused. Just because it's the side of it doesn't mean it is a quarter panel. This panel is used specifically for cutting sections out in it and patching up situations that you might have wrong with your quarter panel. This section right here where you see that rust, you see that? Can you see where it's all dented and mangled right here?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to cut this section out, and that's the only section we're going to use off that quarter panel extension. You go and buy this thing and they're thinking, oh wow, I got rust, I got to replace my quarter panel. So what do, Minnie? They stick this thing up here like that. All right, and come on over here, I want to show everybody this. You see that lip right there? Look what we're talking about. See how that lip, it's not this section here, it stops right there. So we're going to slide that in there. Now it's not going to fit all the way because we got this one. But you see how that fits in there?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And then you'd fit that in there and then you'd come back. That's what we're going to do to that side to keep our door from opening and closing accurately. We're not going to use that because we don't need it. The same goes for our patch panel. A lot of people buy these and they think, wow, that's the quarter panel. I'll cut it up here on the top. Look where my finger is. I'll draw me a line and then I'll just replace it right there. And I'll put the whole quarter panel on the car and wow, look what I got. A brand new quarter panel. That is not what this is designed for. This particular panel is specifically designed as a patch repair panel. Now these panels here don't cost a lot of money. I don't remember what the cost was on it, but it was considerably cheaper than buying this panel right here. So you can kind of see how I replace quarter panels versus other people. And the way that I do it, I don't know if I'm saving the customer money, but I'm making the job a lot easier on me, and it's going to be more accurately fit, and it's going to look more professional by leaving as much of the original metal on the car as possible. So you're probably asking yourself, okay, so why didn't you just buy one of these for that side? Well, if you remember, the top of that section was rotted out. Somebody already replaced that one time. This one wouldn't have cut the mustard. The only way we can fix that properly is we had to get the full quarter panel. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the situation when it comes to replacing quarter panels and what we need to do. The only section on this that we're going to use is this section right here. That's it. And then if the owner wants to keep this, he can have it, or we can keep it for contour curves or whatever we need if we come into another situation where we might have to replace something else. So I'm going to put this back over here so it doesn't fall on the ground. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start cutting this baby out and getting down to the nitty-gritty so we can actually get this quarter panel on the car. Now I want to ask you a question. Just an average Joe guy that went out and bought a quarter panel like this said, well, I got to replace the whole quarter panel. Would you have sat down and thought about it, or would you have just went around the edges of it and said, well, I got to cut it out here, I got to replace this thing here? Is that what you would have done? I got to do it right here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you don't have a lot of experience in it, I'm sure you just cut out that shape.
That's right.
And try to stick it
There
in there.
you go. So always look at a replacement panel as a patch panel, not a full quarter panel, because 9 out of 10 times you never have to replace the whole quarter panel. The only time that I would replace this whole quarter panel is if this car was hit right here in this area. Okay? If it was hit right here in this area and this just happened to be crushed in. And it actually, when it got hit here, it bent all this back. That's the only time I would replace that.
If it messed up the cell panel and your
If it
door
actually got
opened.
hit so hard right in this area here, which is like a mini T-bone, and when it got hit there, it twisted this back,
Right.
and then it crushed up in here, warped
Right.
it.
Right.
I would never take that panel and replace the whole thing on a situation like this. So there you go. This one was replaced right here in this area. You can see where they braced it in.
Yeah.
And then it looks like it came across here, just like that. Okay, and then they spot welded it in or did something here to replace that. So let's get to work, let's get her done, and let's do it right.
Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.